Johnny, do the United Nations, are they any good? Do they do anything? The United Nations, Johnny? Well, I think their bloody intentions were pretty good. Back after the Second World War, where everyone had a shitty time, generally speaking. And the United Nations came about because people wanted to do better.
Johnny, you can't eat bloody...
But I don't know whether it's done that much bloody good, you know, Johnny. To me, it's like having a whole lot of judges, say 5 judges, at some big criminal case, and when the judges find that such and such is guilty of such and such, or we got to do such and such, the such and such person they're talking about just says, fuck you, we're not doing it, and walks out, and there's no repercussions. Well, yeah. That to me is a bit like how the United Nations is turning out. Yeah, it pisses me off a bit too. So you got to wonder what the bloody hell they're doing. Are they just a bloody a puppet administration of world events? I mean, take for example, Johnny, the Secretary General or whatever he's bloody called in the United Nations came out last week and said this.
The UN Secretary General had this to say about the Israeli-Palestine conflict.
What did he say?
Here we go. Listen to this.
The war in Gaza is raging and risks spiraling throughout the region. Divisions are splintering societies. Tensions threaten to boil over. At a crucial moment like this, it is vital to be clear on principles, starting with the fundamental principle of respecting and protecting civilians. I have condemned unequivocally the horrifying and unprecedented 7 October acts of terror by Hamas in Israel. Nothing can justify the deliberate killing, injuring, and kidnapping of civilians or the launching of rockets against civilian targets.
Well, yeah.
It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum.
Whoa. Did you hear what he said? It is important to recognize that the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. So what he...
Jesus Christ.
Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. They have seen their land steadily devoured by settlements and plagued by violence, their economy stifled, their people displaced, and their homes demolished. Their hopes for a political solution to their plight have been vanishing. But the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, and those appalling attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
Wow.
Now, to me, that sounded like the most even-handed bloody set of comments any bastards ever come out in the bloody United Nations and said.
And I think that the Secretary General must resign, because from now on, every day that he is here in this building, unless he apologizes immediately, today we called him to apologize, there's no justification to the existence of this building. This building was established to prevent atrocities. How can the Secretary General, with his words, justify in any way the terrible atrocities that happened to our civilians, innocent civilians?
He did not do that. He did not do that. That he did the opposite. He said correct me if I'm wrong, he said there's no excuse and no justification for Hamas killing civilians.
But Johnny, if we speak against Israel, doesn't that mean that we're supporting terrorists?
I am shocked by the misrepresentations by some of my statement yesterday in the Security Council, as if I was justifying acts of terror by Hamas. This is false. It was the opposite.
Because of those comments, Israel, who thinks that everybody in the world has got to follow Israel, I don't know what planet they're living on, everybody in the world has got to follow Israel now in 2023, and if you don't follow us, then you've got to be fired, sacked, thrown in with bloody terrorists or whatever. Yeah, it pisses me off a bit too, Johnny.
I'm sorry, these kind of lies can't be allowed to pass.
And we here at the Ask Johnny channel, the whole lot of us, the hundreds of people that work here, we take issue with the fact that Israel, think that everyone who just says the Palestinians should be getting a better deal in things,
So, Johnny,
says that everyone who thinks that, well, they're obviously supporting a terrorist organisation. So, Johnny, getting back to the original bloody lament, the question, is the United Nations bloody worth it? I mean, Australia abstained from giving a vote. What a gutless bunch of bastards we've turned out to be.